Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Sidcar Spin. So today I actually got to sit down with Schiller, or Crash as everybody knows him. He actually popped into my place and we sat down and had a bit of a chat, which is different. I'm usually talking to people over the phone, so that was cool. We chat a bit about how he got the name Crash, racing the 24-hour, winning the 24-hour, some of his best battles in motocross and battles in the road trials, a few stories from the old days and what the future holds, and he chats about some of his biggest influences in the sport, racing overseas in the UK, and also now having his son on swinging with him as well. So yeah, we had a good chat and hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Sidecar Spin. Crash,
yes,
how are you?
That is me.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into sidecars.
That's an interesting one. Our family was never really into bikes. I just grew up on the farm, never really into bikes. We just had motorbikes for farm purposes and that was it. I always enjoyed sitting on the tank, mustering the sheep with Dad or my uncles. So I always loved bikes in that regards, but racing was never a consideration until, I guess, as a kid, this magical event called the 24-hour started coming through our property. And I remember sitting down watching that on the banks of the creek, and the sidecars just stood out. Solos, you watched one, you've watched them all. Whereas sidecars, they were all uniquely different, had different styles, different bikes, and it just caught my attention. I went, I'm going to get me one of these. So I pestered Dad to get a push bike sidecar, and it sort of, a few years later, it evolved from there.
Well, I remember watching that 24, and I think must have been the reliability trials. I'm not sure, but my dad lived at Sedan.
Righto.
And I remember them coming through and he'd be like, come on kids, we're going to go out and watch all the bikes, and you'd watch them all go past and you'd be bipping at you and stuff.
And just watching them down the creek and seeing like the glow of the lights at night and the communication between rider and passenger, whether it be silent or spoken, it just stood out. And they always had a much nicer sound to them. I guess the rattling of the bikes around and stuff back in the days, they were pretty primitive home-built machines back then, but just all were very unique to themselves. And I thought, that looks like a fun game. So that's where it all stemmed from.
So how long have you been riding now?
Well, if you take into consideration push bike years, sidecars on push bike, close enough to probably touching on 40 years. So in sidecars. Racing competitively now, this would be my 30th year since first starting to race.
Oh, wow.
Only hit the scene when we were seniors because we were always in the road trial scene. We first hit the scene as 17-year-olds on a little 250 XT, home-built rock hopper, sort of hurdle the turtle, it was affectionately called. Great bike, still holds the fondest memories, that bike, just because of the technique you had to learn from it.
So you rode your push bike sidecar, you've done motocross reliability trials. Have you tried the other trials?
So I did a year of moto trials, or observe trials. I don't want to offend anyone out there. Observe trials back in the day. Did a year of that on an old TY twin shock. It was some interesting years. Probably would have been easier if I was sober. There was a lot of beverages consumed each night beforehand. It was fun times, but it was certainly done tongue-in-cheek. There was no real effort in it. Yeah. Done a bit of nav rally stuff, Finke Desert race on sidecars. So sort of tried to get around as much as we can. I've never been able to tee up speedway properly yet. It's always intrigued me, but the timing's never matched between myself and when the old Prince of Port Adelaide, Ronnie Parker, sort of had his bike available. It never sort of matched, so I never had a chance to get on a speedway track yet.
So you said you did Finke. What was that like?
That was great. We got Finke going in 2000. I started the class up there, and that all started from a night on the beverages down at the Vine Inn in Newry, where I just watched a video from a local friend who'd just come back from it in '99. He brought a video back, and I watched it and went, oh, that'd be pretty cool to do on Sidecar. And I was just chatting about it with someone down the pub in a group, saying, oh yeah, I'm going to go to Finke next year, I reckon, on Sidecar. Yeah, just piss talk coming in. And they said, oh, who's going with you? And good old Papa Baz, my other dad, was behind me at the time. And I said, oh, Baz is coming with. And Baz sort of turned and goes, oh, what are we doing? I said, oh, we're going to Finke next year. And he goes, yeah, no, we're going up there. And he goes, shit, I'll have to get a bike together. So, and it all started from that. It was literally just a drunk conversation in the pub, which turned into organising a class for Finke Desert race, which was, yeah, amazing year. We had 6 of us go up there. Yeah, great times, just learning how we went up there completely blind. Yeah. We had no idea what to expect, how to expect it, how the system worked. We were just flying completely blind, which made it really good. To just
been an adventure.
Yeah, a very, very big adventure for sure.
How did you just go with it? Like, what was it like riding that long sort of without a break?
Yeah, look, the whoops certainly wore you down at times. Certainly at times you were looking for the last whoop to have a bit of a break. Those early years there was a bit more road in it, so you did have some breathers in between, which was good. It was certainly physical. It was a challenge because of the car ruts before you, so you never really match with car rut. So that was a bit of a challenge. Certainly knowing what I know now, I would set up my suspension completely different to what I did back then. Would make it easier. Inexperienced in that regards and a whole new game. Just meant you put up with what you had. But yeah, the poor old KX500, she ran out of legs a few times. You had it strung at full pace going down there. But yeah, great adventure and good fun. The crowd absolutely loved us.
Oh yeah, they would have.
Yeah, we got radio interviews and everything and everything. And they all said, oh, you're never going to make it. You're mad. You're stupid. Why did you come up here on these things? But yeah, when we started rolling up over the finishing line, then all of a sudden,
everyone would have been going nuts.
Next year, you're coming back, coming back, and just riding down, seeing the crowd stick their head out and cameras coming up and stuff like that. We placed around third. I reckon there was about 300 riders back in those days, just under 300, and I reckon we were around the 100 mark. So,
oh wow, yeah, that's pretty good.
We were higher up the ranks than what I expected. That was good.
And how'd the bike go doing that? Like,
not too bad. The first year we just snuck in. It was 3 fuel dumps. We were carrying 15 litres in our main tank. It's actually the bike that Jason Whitfield now rides.
Oh, okay.
That was the bike I was using at the time with the KX500, and 15 litres, we'd just get to the fuel dumps. So the following year, but we've taken a bit easier the first year. The second year we decided to try and push it on a bit, so I put an auxiliary tank in, and we would have been using probably another litre and a half per fuel dump. So she was pretty thirsty in the heavy sand and the wind resistance on the straights, but it certainly drank the fuel. But the bike otherwise held up brilliantly.
I can just imagine the spectators, because everywhere that we've gone that Sidecar's come out, everyone just goes nuts. Like, even at Selix, I went to Selix on the weekend, and people were sort of just talking, looking around, not really paying attention, and then as soon as Sidecars, they're all running to the fence. And like, I was struggling to be able to even get video because everyone was pushing in front of me, trying to get in there trying to film, and everyone's like, oh, we're just waiting for the Sidecars,
Correct. And we've always seen that. Even the motocross years, when I was sort of doing just some motocross back in the early 2000s, or through the 2000s, where we were at that stage still part of the state motocross series. So we were out there on the same days as the solos and stuff like that. And it's funny, like, sidecars come out to the line and you'd be sitting there on the line waiting for the solo race in front of you to finish, and you'd just be looking around and you'd be watching people bringing chairs to the line, and the fence lines just slowly filling up with people. Because the sidecars were lining up. It always draws a crowd for sure.
Yeah. Well, even at Perry, I noticed that as well when we did the state title, Australian titles there. it would be like, no one's sort of watching, and then as soon as the sidecars come out, the whole fence line, whole start gates just full.
Yeah.
It's like, bloody hell. But then it's like, well, you all love it. Come and race.
I know, that's
you
right.
love it so much. Get involved. Like, come and do it.
And that's always been the case. As long as I've been racing it, that's certainly been the case. But King of the Golf is another one I recall. Just that, up on the start line at Perry and just seeing that fence line fill up with people while the other races, the solo race in front's finishing. It's certainly a crowd pleaser wherever you go across the country. It's always brought the people to the sidelines and the attraction. So
Well, even when we went to Mildura and did the dirt track, but me and Rob did it. Sean and Adam, Barry, Jason, and we did it on the motocross sidecars, and we just like adjusted the suspension or whatever. Even the people that were there were like, whoa, what are these things? And like they see dirt track sidecars, but I don't think they'd ever seen motocross sidecars. And they were like all coming to the side even going, whoa, like what are they? We've never seen those before. And they were loving it. Like the spectators thought it was great.
And listening to the previous podcasts, I think it was Rocky that summed it up there just recently, where he said, everyone relates it to Speedway. Speedway tends to be the one that probably cops the most airtime, if any airtime. Everyone relates it to Speedway, and which is fine. It's still sidecars, happy with that. But they don't realise how many other facets there are within it. And from moto trials through to motocross, and they see a motocross outfit and they just go, see, actually, how big a jumps do you do with it? And you start showing them videos of the Euro guys, and their eyes just pop out their head. And I've even had them grab the phone out of my hand and go, are they really, is this AI or is this real stuff? And you go, no, that's genuine. So, it's sort of absolutely... quickly followed by, and who's stupid enough to stand on the side with you? So, they'll ask you the rider or the passenger? You go, no, rider, mate. And they go, well, who's dumb enough to jump on the side with you? So, but been very lucky there to have some great passengers over the years. So, but predominantly, I guess, Stiff Dakey there's been my lifelong passenger in the overall scheme of things. From push bikes right through to now. We've had a couple of breathers in between, but whenever there's been a breather, you jump back on, and it's just like you were riding yesterday again. Just fantastic having him back on, and we've just gelled together so well over the years that we've sort of made the ride as easy as we can to be able to go as fast as we can and not wear ourselves out as much as we have to. So
I see you had your son on with you. How was that?
So we've played on weekends enough, myself and Brett, and he's just hit the 16 age recently. So seniors was the thing, and I gave him opportunities to ride the bikes over the years, the sidecars and out on the farm, and he'd ride them, and Dad, the world's most useless passenger on the side, probably scared him off of being a rider. So he said, no, I love being a passenger, Dad. And I went, oh, this is good. I'm not going to change this. I'm not going to force riding on you. Passengers from him, passenger gigs, great. I've seen passengers over the years. It's just a free ride. They just rock up, they do their thing, they drop their dirty gear and walk off home. So he's jumped on board with us at the Murray Williams Cup. We thought we'll come out of motocross hiatus. I haven't done motocross since 2012. Which was, prior to it being called the Murray Williams Cup, that was sort of the title at that stage. That was the last time I rode motocross, and thought, time to give it a go again. I still like motocross. And so, Brett was keen to do it, and he's still got future endeavours to do some racing overseas if he can. And we came out and thought, righto, well, I said to him at the start, look, mate, I'm out here to do the best we can and target the lead. I said, so I'm not going to back off. I am going to give this my all. So
baptism by fire.
So here we go, mate. Hang on. And I thought I think his thoughts on it might have been a little bit different to what the body actually dished out to him. And so it was a bit of a reality check for the lad. And if anyone was there, it was probably borderlining on child abuse at one stage. But
tough love.
But he's so grateful now that he's done it. And pushed his way through. I think it's, as Brian summed up in previous ones, you do, the first one is the hardest. And he did have a lot of support there from some of the older blokes as well, which was really good. And not even the older blokes, some of the wives and stuff like that were there, were very encouraging. But yeah, he just had to crack through his own mindset. Physically, he can do it. He's just got to mentally teach himself that it's possible. And then let the body follow suit.
Well, it probably would be a bit of a shock. Have you, do you ride hard with him at home, or?
Yeah. I generally, look, in the early days, you naturally brood up to it. I mean, you can't expect a 11 or 12-year-old kid to be at race pace on your first ride. That's slightly unreasonable. But tempting, but slightly unreasonable.
That'll teach you for not cleaning your room.
Exactly. That's right. I told you to do the chooks this morning. No, and look, in the early days, he'd even struggle to even be able to get up on the back mudguard. Like, the legs weren't quite long enough and stuff like that. So there's physical challenges that you've just got to accept. On a big bike, they've got to take 2 or 3 steps to get across to the D-peg and things like that. So
God, I still do that now. I've got little legs. They're like, oh, if you do this and just pivot here, I'm like, I can't, my legs aren't long enough.
Yeah, it's funny that, so certainly I brewed him up to it, but yeah, like I said, we've always been lucky to have, I guess, a bike to ride and property to ride on, so you just, when it suits, jump on, go for a bit of a squirt, or even down the road, and we'd go for a bit of a trail ride around the district to go visit someone or something like that. There was a fair bit of intro to that as well. Mum was a little bit nervous to start with.
I was going to say,
13, 14-year-old lads hanging on the sidecar down the road, but I think our first time, I don't think Mum was around, so it was more the second time where she goes, we said, we've done it before. And she's, what? But no, she's been really good about it. And Fiona's always been out there watching and following us around as much as possible, and picking up the pieces when I leave pieces behind and get carted off. So she's always been there cleaning up a few messes over the years. So it's very grateful to her for the help, and the family as a whole. They've always been very encouraging of it, and enjoy coming to watch, I think. So that's good. It makes a massive difference when you got that support too. Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's so hard to do stuff if you don't have support from your family.
They're right in their ball sports, their netballs, the girls, my girls and Fiona, and they love it. I love them doing that. And all the rest. Olivia had a bit of a play on Sidecar in the days too, but Claire's never been much for it.
She probably don't want to get on there after what you did to Brett.
Who knows?
She's probably like, I'm not doing that.
They were great goggle cleaners at the Murray Williams Cup, so they're still playing their part in amongst it. So it's good.
God, you were giving me anxiety, and I wasn't even on there with you. I was watching the jumps and stuff you were doing on the video. I was like, holy crap.
Oh, look, it's easier to clear them than it is to come up short. I said that to people. Some of the thing with Sidecar is taking it past, I guess, the scary step. There's quite a big, what I like to know is probably a scary step or a dark space in amongst there where, you start to get a few jumps and you feel comfortable and you'll land halfway on a tabletop and then bounce back off the end and stuff like that. Later on, you'll find out that that's actually really uncomfortable, right? And it's hard to come up short, and it's hard to on the body to land twice. Coming up shy on a tabletop, especially just that bike length short, is really rough. You'll hit it, you'll rebound, and then you'll sort of clip the edge going down.
Yeah, and you sort of go a bit sideways.
Correct.
Because we were doing that at Renmark, because we were I think we were landing in that crappy spot, and that bloody step up the back, we smashed the face of it like so many times.
Exactly.
It's like you either got to go really slow and just not even try to go over it, or you got to clear it.
Correct. And sidecars are hard to ride slow, right? They're made to go fast. They're made to slide. They're made to drift around the place. Riding them slow is actually hard. Geometry wise, it's not a fun thing to do. It's hard to take kids for a ride on them because riding them slow is really awkward.
Yeah, they don't have a turn and stuff, do they?
Correct, that's right. Whereas, like you said, that step up, for instance, if you cleared that, your suspension hardly worked on the landing up the top because you just glided beautifully onto the platform up the top, and it was beautiful. And likewise with the tabletop just before that, you could, if you cleared that, and Brett got to the point where he's just given it a slight twist in the air that you could then land it in a slide and
into
just
that corner.
and just bring the power on the moment you landed, and use the landing to actually predetermine your corner speed into the corner, and get all that right. Once again, as Brian's mentioned in the past, when you all gel like that, it actually makes it better and easy. And over recent years, I've been trying to find time as where I can in amongst running a couple of businesses, to do a few coaching sessions and practice rides and stuff like that. Because I was approached, I was approached a few years ago by a few clubbies, and Christy Schultz have been hassling me for quite a few years about it, and time's the killer. I've got to admit, but I do the best to try and blend stuff in where I can, and to get some of them out there and sort of coach them through some of those little things, and even, I guess, drag them through some of those obstacles at a bit more pace, and all of a sudden get their confidence up to go, oh, I can actually do that. And sometimes it's not by choice, sometimes you sort of got to push them to it, but once you've cracked that shell and got past that little dark space, then, that void, then all of a sudden, it's a whole different ball game, and they go, it does actually work. That is actually easier. And the one big one's getting the front wheel up, keeping the front wheel up, monoing little V-dips and stuff like that, and getting through them is such a help. Getting your front wheel up out of ruts on turns and stuff like that, and using the ruts one way or another to help steer your turn by not running your wheels in the same rut. Sort of controlled cross rutting actually helps you get around so much easier. It takes the pressure off the bars, less wear and tear on your body, means you can go faster for longer. Less work on the passenger. It's got to be a good thing.
I think it's just getting past that. It's that mind block where you think, I don't really want to go faster.
Yeah.
But you know that if you go faster, it's going to be easier. But you just got to break that little barrier of that little fear thing.
Yeah.
And thinking, because I do that on my solo. It's the same thing on the solo. When you hit that dodgy spot on the end, sort of near the end of the jump, it comes.
Yeah, correct. That's right.
And then it
rebounds.
Yeah,
rebounds.
You go like crap,
and it's ugly.
Yeah, and like.
And it's hard. It's easy to say, just don't be nervous. Just be casual about it. It's easy to say that.
Yeah.
Especially after quite a few years of racing and sort of experience a lot of the highs and lows. But as a rider, you can feel a nervous passenger. You can feel it, and it makes the bike quite rigid. It's hard to explain, but you can feel when a passenger's nervous. They're not nimble on the bike.
Flowy,
they don't gel with the bike.
Yeah.
And you've got this sort of abruptness to the bike that you can feel from the rider's point of view. You can feel that passenger is nervous. If you've got a casual, relaxed passenger, the likes of Brian, when we were practicing, first jumped on for the Welsh 2-day for our practicing and stuff like that prior to going over, straight away you just noticed that he was a very casual passenger, and it's very easy then to adapt as a rider. Because you can feel that passenger's nimble and moving around, flowing with the bike. From there, you've just got to learn each other's trait and find, as he described, a happy medium between your traits to gel together and happy days. But it's easy to do that when your passenger's not nervous.
See, I feel a lot more flowier when I do the reliability trials.
Yeah.
Because I get more nervous doing motocross.
Yeah.
Just because I've come off quite a few times already in motocross.
Yeah.
And I've come off going over the jumps. So when I always think,
but don't be worried. You'll always land on the ground.
Yeah.
Right? We've got gravity on Earth. You're not going to float away. Don't be nervous. You're always going to come back to ground.
I've done a few bloody tumbles.
And look, generally motocross is a lot more nervous, and I'll put my hand up and still say to this day, Murray Williams Cup, I always get nerves, butterflies on the line at motocross. Doesn't matter how casual and how much I was doing it during my peak years in motocross, I always had butterflies on the start line, which was great, but frustrating at the same time, because you're a bit on edge. It sort of created you a bit on edge, and I was probably then the rigid one on the bike. Yeah. Once we got off that line and into that first corner, it all just disappeared.
Yeah, it's the first corner's pretty
but just being on the line until that gate dropped, probably until 5-second board went up and you brought those revs up. Prior to that, sitting there on the line waiting for the last race to finish and stuff, I'd always get real twists in my stomach. And until that gate dropped, and then you just concentrate on, then it's race time and all is forgotten. Get through that first corner and then make the rest of the race work from there. So, but it's interesting how people what makes people nervous in that regard. So,
See, I think you'd think that, like motocross, you're on a track that's pretty predictable. It's fully prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
You know where you're going, everything like that. But then reliability trials, you're driving somewhere where you don't have a clue where you're going. There's sticks and stuff poking out. There's rocks. There's everything.
There's
I seem to not be as nervous doing that as what I am doing motocross. It's really weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably the fact that you are probably doing it more on your own as an individual. You're racing the clock rather than other races. I agree. But it's just that rush of motocross. I just love that. I love the rush of motocross. But at the same time, I enjoy road trials. Has always been my niche thing because I just enjoy that spontaneous track. Right, not knowing what's around the next corner, or not knowing what's over the hill, just tackling every little obstacle as it pops up in front of you in a split second. It's not as intense as the motocross, but pros and cons in both. I really love the rush of motocross and clearing those jumps. Just saving tyre wear by being in the air is a great thing. It's got to be cheaper on running costs, surely.
There's nothing like being at the gate. At the motocross and having all the sidecars lined up and everyone sort of sitting there, like, it's just awesome.
That and the tactics that come into it as well. The greatest tactician of all is definitely Trevor Anthony. Here's a bugger of a character back when I was racing. You sort of learnt pretty quick smart. Everyone told me, just watch out for Trevor. Watch out for Trevor. He's a silent assassin. And it took me a while to really pick up on it, but I don't know how many times that he would just sit back and you'd be watching, like doing your look backs on corners and stuff like that, where you're swapping back on corners and you go, oh yeah, Trevor's still 3 corners back type of thing. No worries, he's not on the pace today or something like that, and you'd just continue on battling away with Robbo or whoever up the front, and you'd be getting through the race. Back then I think 15 or 20 minutes plus a lap. And so you'd just be battling through the race. You're young and dumb. You're just pushing 120% right from the word go. And you'd sort of get 3/4 way through the race and you'd look back and you go, where's Trevor gone? You go, oh, maybe he's DNF'd. But as you quickly learn that no, old silent assassin Trevor had snuck his way up. All of a sudden he'd gone, right, time to turn the wick up. And he would just all of a sudden turn the power on and he would be on your tail within a couple of laps. And you go, where the hell did that just come from? And he just learnt how to pace himself through the race until the required. He just was a master of picking the time. And then all of a sudden he would be on your tail. And I forget how many times that he beat us to the line doing that until 2012 when I thought, nah, bugger this. I'm playing at your own game here, Trev. And we did a little bit of the same to overtake. We went straight between him and John on the last lap, I think it was, or second to last lap, over the whoops at Murray Bridge. Went straight between the pair of them and went, stuff this, I'm not letting you blokes do this to me again. And my stubborn German genetics overtook and we just went straight through the pair of them. And an absolute great moment to be a part of, sort of, getting past those two blokes, which have always been great motocross mentors. And guys I've always looked up to in motocross, to sit there and finally beat them at their own game with their own tactics. Was just it was a really a real good feeling. Especially seeing as we'd been out of it for a little while as well. It was good to be back on the track.
So what would be your biggest achievement?
Look, still being alive. Certainly my greatest achievement. For those that know me, I had life all planned out to 30. After that was just going to be make it up as we go. The challenge was to get to 30. And that was a big ask back in the day, for those that knew me. Because, I've read once that growing old is inevitable, but growing up is by choice. So I choose to stay young. But it was, I guess, the biggest challenge overall was probably, I know there's so many little challenges along the way. Probably some of the big challenges, which are a little bit out there, pardon me, have been, I guess, financially being able to stay out there at times and try and keep up to the level you want financially. Kids come along, houses come along, business growth and developments come along, and they've all taken a bit of a financial toll along the way. When you'd really love to be out there racing, you're sort of, having to juggle budgets, I guess, to keep the bike out there and find bikes at the right price and stuff like that has been a big challenge over the years. Different bits and pieces in amongst that. I guess health recoveries, challenges from crashes and getting back out there again. The overall challenge of just being better, right? There's so many times where early days where Robbo would just beat you race after race after race. You go, I know I can beat him. I can beat him. But just the challenge of getting yourself there to finally do it. We always knew everyone's beatable. You just got to ride faster than them. Right? It's a pretty simple equation. If someone's beating you, just learn to ride faster than them. But the challenge of getting there is pretty big in itself. So so the challenges are wide and varied. But certainly I think the financial challenge of being out there was certainly a big one for quite a few years.
You said you had some bad crashes. Is that how you got your name, Crash?
No. No, so this pops up quite often. How'd you get the name? Customers ask me all the time, like, where does that come from? But I was a crash waiting to happen when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
So sort of 10, 11 years old, ripping around on a little XR75 and a KX80 out on the farm, and the guys would be out marking out the 24-hour track, and I'd just be ripping up and down the track like a crazed lunatic. And the guys said to Dad, oh, he's just a crash waiting to happen. And the name just stuck. They just started calling me Crasher. And so the likes of Chris Hunter and Craig Zaggy and the Schick Boys and Freddie Weckett and that, they were sort of the guys that came up with the name, and it just stuck. And it's been there ever since. So it's always been Crasher. So, and then naturally when you do start the crash in later years, it just reinforces it.
Have you had any bad crashes?
We've had a couple little incidents along the way. So we've got some holes in our wrists, and we've got collarbones that stick out, and we've got legs that have sort of got hooks in them, so there's been plenty of stuff along the way. But like anything, if you're going to push your limits, sooner or later the limits are going to make themselves known, right? But how do you know you can't go faster if you don't try? I've got a No Fear poster. No Fear back in the day was the big brand, and I've got a poster that still hangs in the Sunshine Bar, our local home bar, to this day, and it says, you must always push your limits, because if you never fail, you will never succeed. And that's always been in my head and rung true, because, I mean, as a kid, how did you know the oven was hot? Mum could tell you, don't touch it, it's hot. But until you touch something that's hot, you don't know that that's the limit. That's right. So I think you've got to always push it to some degree. I guess later on in life, once you've found those limits numerous times before, you're probably a bit more aware of them. But no regrets learning them. No regrets at all learning them. That's just part and parcel of it. I'm just happy that, I guess, over time, I haven't, touch wood, I guess Jed's probably the one that's taken the most injury out of our crashes. He's had a few KOs over the years, but the likes of Stiff, I don't know how he escapes it, but he's just an Energizer bunny on speed, and I've only just finally broken him. Only just finally broke him back in Clare Road Trial, where we injured his ankle. That's, aside from that, he's only ever had bumps and scrapes and bruises. He's still to this day memorised my insurance number, right? My private insurance number. He only rattled it off the other day. He goes, oh, it's blah, blah, blah. And I said, what's that? He goes, oh, that's your insurance number. I've got it memorised. So he knows all the paperwork is in my kit bag and stuff like that, so he could just chuck it in the ambulance if I got carted off. So, weird, but real.
Have you had any like real wild like near misses? Like I suppose in road trials, there's always some crazy things happen. Have you had any like where it's been like, holy crap, we were so lucky?
Look, there's probably been tons of them. To remember them is probably near impossible because there's probably plenty of them. There has been quite a few where it's sort of nearly sort of cartwheels or something like that. But to remember any specifics, no, I couldn't. It's just too many of them.
Too often,
That's right, exactly.
Every section just about, there'd be some branches sticking out or bloody... I feel pretty comfortable out there nowadays.
Yeah. I wouldn't be pushing if I didn't feel comfortable, plain and simple. So yeah, like I said, if you're nervous within yourself, you just can't ride to your ability. So you got to feel comfortable about it, or you won't do good.
What have you found as one of the most challenging tracks you've done?
Challenging tracks. Look, I've probably found. I've grown up on the eastern poverty plains of Uganda, so dry, hard packed, dusty stuff is normal to us. So anything with mud probably has always created a challenge because we never had the opportunity to really practice in it. Mud was certainly always a bit of a challenging one, fun but challenging. I always found sand very challenging up until even recent years, where I learned some new suspension tricks from a solo rider, actually, that I thought, I'll just try them on the Sidecar, and it worked really, really well. So you're never too old to learn out there, people. That's another key point. But yeah, look, so I guess I found anything with those two sort of components probably pretty challenging. If anything was to stand out as a standalone, the previous Renmark track. It was our second ever track that we rode on. Our first one was Tea Tree Gully, and that was as muddy as sin. It just rained all night, and it was just a slop fest. So here we are in wet on a motocross track. It's our first motocross. That was quite challenging. Then the very next race, so this was late 99, the very next race we went to Renmark, and it was as dry as sin. It was touching on 40 degrees. And the jumps up there, that was the most horrendous track I've ever ridden, in the fact that the ramps up and down on the jumps were just so steep and short. You had to be so particular with your landings and stuff like that. It was...
just over jumping.
Whoever designed that track should have been drug tested. Seriously, if it was... Even watching the solos, it just looked uncomfortable. It had kickers on the takeoffs. It had really short down ramp. One of the most dangerous things you could have. And I always called it the Lego track because it was just so exact. It was built so structured and exact that everyone had to ride the exact same thing. So how can you have a competition when everyone's got to ride so exact? So that one, hated it. Hated it. It was challenging. It was dumb. There was nothing nice about it at all. So yeah, put that one at the top of the list. But their new track, for anyone else out listening up at Renmark there, sensational. Love it.
I really enjoyed it. That Murray Williams Cup was the first time I've been there.
Long,
and I loved it.
Yeah, it's long, it's open.
It's quite wide too, which
You've got opportunity. And that was a lot of the challenge, and why I went away from motocross a lot in the end was because the tracks were getting so narrow and one-lined. The waits between races was getting to the point where we were having 3-hour waits between races.
Yeah, because there were so many classes.
Yeah, back in the state title days, you were just waiting so long, especially at the start of the day, because they'd send us out. We'd be the first ones out to do practice to churn the track up. So it was hardly a practice because you were just out there to aerate the track, and then you were the last one in the lineup for the day. So your first wait could have been 3.5 hours from practice to your first race. Yeah. So you'd have to get there at Sparrow's Fart, but then you'd be waiting till nearly 10 o'clock before your first race. So in the end, you just went, I'm just not getting the pleasure out of this that I should. So I sort of pulled away from it, but I love it. And riding some of those big wide tracks in Victoria, Colac, loved it. Wonthaggi, the week after the Australian motocross round there, it was whooped, it was rutted. I think it might have been the one that Brian spoke about being his first race. it was sensational. Deep, dark sand, and quite a bit of natural terrain component to it, and it was just bloody brilliant. It was hard. It was a hard track, and it was rough, but it was brilliant fun. It was probably to some degree comparable to some of the stuff you see in Europe at that point because of the ruts from the weekend before. So yeah, loved some of those Victorian tracks. Loved going over there in the day. The road trips to and from were great fun. In the limousine, Jed's limousine. We used to travel in a limousine over there. The kid seat all strapped in the back and all the rest, and bean bags and everything. And so that was our answer to the Victorians bus trip that used to come in our direction. We had the limousine with the boomerang on the boot and everything. So yeah.
Speaking of Europe, have you raced in Europe?
Well, the UK, not mainland Europe, but the UK, the Welsh 2-day. I've now done 3 times and just entered for this year as well. So for our 4th tour of duty. And
you won last year, didn't you?
No, last year I won expert class with Dylan Davies on board. So I was a last minute call up. Because her rider had injured his back a couple of weeks beforehand. They had the sidecar and everything there. It was the sidecar that I rode the first time I went over in 2018. It was on loan from James Cuff. So I went over there. I was familiar with the bike, but that was a last minute decision. They didn't really know. They thought I was pulling their leg until I sent them a picture of the ticket, the plane ticket. I said, no, I'm on my way. I need a pickup from the airport. 5 days time I need a pickup. So and they just sent back a message saying you're crazier than we thought. But after chatting to Brian, I think some of that spontaneity of doing that is what makes it more enjoyable too.
Well, it gives you that story like, remember when I just took that, ride on, a couple of days' notice and I flew overseas and I did that.
It creates great stories, and I think that's ultimately what I do a lot of this sport for is for the memories. I want to be the one in the rest home telling the stories, not listening to them.
They'll think, this crazy old guy's got dementia, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
You can't have done that shit. No one in their right mind. Exactly. You're right. But so 18, I got called up to ride over there. I was sort of in a retirement status at that stage after a back injury in 2014, just a work injury. I got pestered by James Cuff. There was 3 other Aussie teams going over with Dave and Brad Manuel, Mark and Tyson Rolack, and Darren Winter and Lockie Greenouch were all going. They were chipping me to go. I said, well, nah, Stiff wasn't in a position to be able to go. And I said, nah, look, without Stiff, I'm not going. They kept pestering. I asked a few local passengers. No one really wanted to go. So I'd canned it. And I just kept having this guy from Bristol just hassling me. And he said, look, I've got an Australian passport. I'm an Australian citizen, dual citizen. So I'm half Australian anyway. Come on over. I've got the bike. And I still just didn't feel comfortable rocking up with... I hadn't been on a bike for 3 years. I had not ridden a sidecar for 3 years. And so in my mind, to go overseas, jump on a bike with no practice, with someone I'd newer met, on a bike I'd never ridden in a foreign country.
For a 2-day event as well.
just seemed rather risque. And we're having a session at the Sunshine Bar one night, and we had a local guy from Yadunda who's a Pommy migrant. And they live there now, farmers there. And he said, Crash, you've got to go. He's going, just ride to what suits. I said, but that's not my mindset. I ride to win, right? Yeah. And it just feels uncomfortable backing off. And he said, no, just do it for the experience. And he's chipping me away at it. And he goes, look, Crash, he's going, and this will stick in my head till the day I die. He said, Crash, they only talk at your funeral about what you did, not about what you thought about doing. And I went, and that was just an epiphany moment that I just went, you're bloody right. Change the head, let's go and experience it. So I got on the, I reckon I was on Messenger probably 20 minutes later saying, righto, I'm in. and look, best experience I could have had. He's a previous passenger and rider of the Welsh 2-day, so he knows what's going on. And he coached me through it beautifully. It was a great bike for it, bit of a tractor, but a perfect bike. You could just labour, throttle back and labour, and very easy on the body. We we finished. We were 5th overall, winners of expert class from memory.
Shit, that's all right for not doing it for so long.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
And like I said, the training, I think his coaching through it helped. Know when to hold him, know when to fold him, when to back off, when to pick up. That was really critical knowledge to have on board at the time. I then got the bug again and thought I'll go back in 2020. So I bought a bike over there in 2019. And then obviously the over-popularised flu came into the equation called COVID. And everyone had a little bit of mass hysteria for a little while. And so I couldn't get a chance. We entered for 2020, but COVID capped that. So the bike sat in storage over in Wales at Alan Davies' place. And it took us till 2023 to be able to get back there. So I had the newest old bike, or whichever way, the newest old bike on the track. And so, finally got to ride my bike. It'd been used in a wedding and a couple of trail rides by the guys over there before I even got a chance to touch it. But so got over there with Brian on board, and that was great times. Brian's just a great motivator from the Sidecar. Very, very comparable to Stiff in that regards. Like, don't think, just do. The word can't isn't in the dictionary. Can's a shorter word, so spell that one instead. Just a very positive passenger.
Yeah, he's very upbeat and he's
and he was very
enthusiastic about it all.
Yeah, absolutely, but very black and white. Which, like he said with Kaspar's there, that it's so much easier to work with black and white people.
Yeah.
It's yes or no, right? You're right or you're wrong. None of this grey area crap. And so I like that in the fact that, he'd pull me up on things that he wanted me to do different and stuff like that.
Well, you can't learn if someone's beating around the bush.
Yeah,
Just
that's
tell
right,
you. Like,
exactly.
you're both there to be to be good at what you're doing.
Correct.
It's not going to, it's just tough love.
You're not going to get better if you don't try hard, right? And you have to try different things. It's not to say that...
you can't take it personal, it's just what it is.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And he's very good at that. Like, very, very good as the passenger side of things. And Stiff also. They're just very motivating passengers. I'm a mechanic by trade. My job is to find problems and faults. And it does play with your head. If something's starting to tinker, I hear a bit of a rattle or something's not quite right on the bike, Stiff picks up on it. He knows that I'm thinking about something because I'm trying to predict a repair. It's a blessing and a curse, but it does screw with my head sometimes in the fact that you go, right, what could be going on and how can I fix it with what I've got available? Whereas Stiff and Brian were just, oh, don't worry about it, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, and just keep pushing.
Yeah.
And we had spokes starting to break on us, surprise, surprise, over in Wales, on the back of the bike that time. And Brian was really good in getting me to pull back at times. Just take it steady, just trying to preserve those spokes for the moments that we needed them.
Yeah.
And we got through, okay. And as was spoken about in his podcast, as far as I'm concerned, the clock's the trophy, and we won by the clock. But some other oddball technicalities of class entries that make it different on their books.
Don't worry, all the Aussies was like, the Aussies did it, we took that one.
It's funny, so I go back last year in 24, so we come away with the win there in that regards, which is kind of dusted off of us. Go back last year, and as a last minute thing, so a lot of the riders didn't know I was rocking up, and so it's quite a surprise to quite a few
that
of them.
guy.
He's back. And they'd made me a jersey. So Alan Davies, Alan and James and Dallin had made me this jersey. It was actually Gemma, James' wife, that came up with the catchphrase, and it had even if I win, I lose written on the back of the jersey, just to shit stir the pot over there. So it's still once again, it's one of those joking points. You'll never forget it just because of the situation that's around it. It's not just the win or the near win. It's the story that goes with it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, the rain is starting.
Let the rain come. If we've got to cut this short, it's for a very good reason, people. Right? We're not going to stop that rain just for a poxy interview.
So you had...
Dylan Davies.
How was that?
That was good.
Yeah.
She was very, very...
Because she's very young, isn't she?
Yeah, yes. I think she'd just turned 17. Very greenhorn to the passenger side of things. As you explained before, short legs.
Yeah.
Made her a little bit steadier on the chair. But once again, a very...
Shut that door.
Yeah, do it. We're just in the shed here, people. I'm going to learn how to do some boxing stuff after this. Quite admire Rocky. I don't think I'll have a Rocky comeback, but or even a Rocky startup for that matter.
Hiding in the shed from the kids.
Yeah, it might be the eye of the dead tiger that crashes in there. Yeah. But she's got a very determined nature, which made her very good. It took some training. There was a few nasty habits that I had to train through. But Alan, her father, was dead keen on that to take place. So typically a daughter's not going to learn from a father. That's just unheard of. Children are learning from their parents. That's ridiculous. But a few nasty habits on feet positions and stuff like that. But by the end of it, really good. Scared her a few times with sort of jumping little V-dips and stuff like that. But like I said to her at the end, especially when she found out in the very last special stage, is quite a sharp, greasy V-dip that most of the guys just ride through. And mate, I'm not even going to consider riding through that. Bugger that, we're going over the top. And she was pretty plum tuckered, and she was screaming at me from probably halfway through the last special stage, of which my selective deafness took over and I couldn't hear what she was saying. And
that seems to be a convenient thing for some riders.
It just happens. Maybe if it didn't wind so often, we wouldn't have to switch off. But we ended up monoing this V-dip, and she was shit scared of it, but you could do it quite safe. And we came in at the end, and she was telling her dad about it, and he was going, "Oh, that's the V-dip right at the end there." And she's like, "We've never monoed over that." And I just laughed and I said, "There you go, Dylan, you can stick it up your dad now." And then you saw her face light up. She goes, "What, you've never done that?" It was just all of a sudden a little glowing moment for her to go, "We've just achieved something that Dad's never done." So
I think as a beginner passenger, you've just got to have that trust that you're on with someone who's experienced and knows what they're doing, and that they've done it, and they wouldn't be doing it if they couldn't do it.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
If they weren't comfortable doing it. I think that's the key.
Because like,
for sure.
I even find that in the road trials, like, you know, some of the things that we have to go up, like, I wouldn't have even thought that a sidecar could go up there.
Yeah.
And, you know, Caroline will be like, "All right, just hold on, lean back or do whatever." And I'm like, "Okay," so I just do what she says and we make it, and I'm like, "Oh my God."
Yeah,
like,
and keep momentum.
you just got to trust.
Yeah, don't think, just do.
Yeah, I have just complete trust that she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
So
well,
I know,
Caroline's
even
been
though
out there a long
scary,
time.
Yeah, even though it's scary sometimes, you think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'll be all right.
Yeah, and that's not disrespectful, Caroline. Like, when I'm saying a long time, that's a good thing, right? Now, I remember watching Caroline out at Deaners Creek, Frankton, years ago in the 24. Her and Janine on the little TS250. That bike got modelled. We copied that bike, the concept of that bike years later. Well, Kim and Tony Sharkey, good mates of mine, did. They had a TS250 that they'd sort of used the fact that Caroline and Janine had this little TS250 with a sidecar on it. So why can't we, as young L plate, P plate riders, why can't we have a 250 with a sidecar? I guess some of our enthusiasm from seeing the fact that she'd certainly achieved it. I think Brooko had done it prior to that as well on a TS250. So we knew it could be done, we knew it had been done. So there was sort of a bit of inspiration for us. That was sort of our stepping stone. We had a little RM80 at one stage. But we were sort of, when I say we, I've always sort of considered those two lads sort of brothers, because we grew up on neighbouring farms, and only having sisters in my family, we always hung out with the Sharky boys, and we spent a lot of time in the shed just building our own stuff. And, Kim especially, he's sort of the master grumpy boilermaker that whips a lot of this stuff up, some of those things have been quite an evolution, building rock hoppers and stuff like that over the years as well. So.
Did you ever build anything that was just an absolute piece of crap, like
everything.
Pig or something? Like,
if you want to see something massively over-engineered, like they talk about engineers over capitalising things, the little RM80 that Flob's built, back in the day, mate, that had, I don't know, it was something like 50 by 30 or 40 RHS across the front, 3mm thick. It was built, I don't know, if it was a bulldozer, you'd compare it to a D11, I reckon. It was so, the poor bike couldn't pull top gear because the sidecar was too heavy. But that's learning.
Yeah.
That's learning. That's how we got into it. We still enjoyed it. We didn't know anything different.
Yeah.
We still enjoyed it. We still crashed it. We still had fun. We still learned how to somehow jump it. But it was an absolute pig. You look at it now, just laugh and go, how could we have thought of that? And yeah, so we've built a lot of sidecars over the years. So from juniors, we built our own rock hoppers and stuff back in the day. That was sort of my next bike, was an XR 630 that me and Steph bought once we got our open motorbike license. So yeah, we started in 96 on an XT 250. Hurdle the Turtle, as I said earlier. Had some really good success on that. We came second in our first road trial behind Jeff Long, and that sort of opened up everyone's eyes and went, geez, there's some nut jobs here. A 250 shouldn't be able to do that, which it technically shouldn't. It shouldn't be able to flat change up and down gears for so long.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. You couldn't back off. So that bike, you had to learn how to corner fast. Because you could not back off, you couldn't afford, the acceleration was so bad that you had to hold momentum. Then we built a XR 630, and this is probably the proudest bike I've had. Very proud of the 250, what we achieved on it, but the 630, we built that from the ground up in the farm workshop at the start of '97. With a lot of help from people like Fred Weckett. We mimicked the Schick Boys sidecar, we mimicked that. XR, I really had a fond love of that bike. It looked nice, it seemed to go nice, it sounded nice. It was just a real nice modern rock hopper in the day, so we copied that bike, mimicked it. A few other people, Jimmy Hazeldine, sort of did components towards it with Mudguard, and Baz Rolak's always been a big help. I boarded with Baz Rolak for a couple of years. He's an ex-sidecar man. Had some very pretty nice bikes over the years, and a great engineer and mechanic and stuff. So he taught me a lot with bike setups, building and stuff like that. So he helped me machine up a lot of stuff, build a lot of components, weld certain stuff that my skill set wasn't up to. So I extended triple clamps, things like that, to get the handlings as good as we could. And we did that on such a budget. It was a dirt cheap budget. We could not afford, I think I even had to cut back on beer for a little bit. It was that bad.
Do you think riding some of those old, like, dodgy sort of ones that you sort of made back in the day made the newer ones just feel so much better?
110%.
Yeah. 110%.
So, none of the kiddies out there have experienced manhood yet. That's what it comes down to. It was, look, we won on that bike in 98 against Dave and Steve Manuel, so that was another great moment. But all of a sudden, that's our third year in road trials, and we've won the event that we always wanted to achieve. That was that was going to be our pinnacle, to win the 24. 3 years down the track, we've done it. We've gone, oh shit, now what? Sort of done everything. So that's where I sort of learnt quick smart. You just got to set new goals, right? If you achieve a goal, go for another one. What is it in the aim for perfection in the chances of getting to excellence? So just keep aiming better and trying to get better. And then 99, we sold that and went into motocross. We chatted about it and said, look, let's try something different. We went to motocross and bought the motocross outfit and jumped on that thing and went. I'd had a couple little plays, but because they weren't my own bike, I'd sort of taken it steady, and they did handle like crap then because you were riding them steady. The minute I got my own and sort of started to have a play on it, I just went, welcome to the world. This is cool. Yeah, no, that was bloody good fun. And then, motocross was just that whole new challenge.
Speaking of goals, what are your future goals?
Look, from here, I just want to see how far I can go physically. Certainly, age is starting to take effect. There's no doubt about that. Recoveries take much longer. I used to bag out John Robinson like Robbo years ago, and I've had chuckles with him about this one-on-one where I used to shit-can him so much about all the training you used to put in, go, oh mate, don't wear yourself out training. Geez, you'll be stuffed on race day. But I now have to say, I've learnt the value in it as the years have gone on, and I sort of got into my 30s and now well and truly into my 40s. I do little gym sessions every morning just to help keep the body freed up and minimise strains and twists and stuff like that from all the joints that are displaced now. And it makes a big help. So certainly seeing how far I can go, having my lad now involved, I guess there's a bit of a challenge there to keep going for a while and do some events with him that we can blend together. I don't want to stop him creating his own race career. That's his game to play. But at the same time, I'd like to enjoy a few races with him where I can. And ideally a 24 in there somewhere if we can make it work. But I think just the challenge of still going is good in itself as a goal. And just to see how long we can stay at the pointy end of the field. Quite a goal in itself.
So how many 24s have you won? 4. So do you have a goal to get to like 10 or something like that? Or
oh look, no one wants to let Hutchies beat them. They're our little prodigies.
Do you know who's had the most wins?
Dave Manuel.
Oh, okay.
Dave's had 8, 7 of those with T-Bone. So Tony Sharkey. So 7 with him. And then as of this last year with Hutchies winning, there was 4 of us on 4 wins between Mark Launer, Mark and Tyson, Hutchie twins, and me and Stiff were all on 4. Hutchies just took that up to 5. So there's some redemption to be made. We don't want those little buggers bloody getting too far out in front. So there's always a challenge to, as we've said, hold up five fingers on the one hand at least. So we'll see. We keep going out there to try and win. That's the goal. That's what we race for.
What do you reckon is probably the biggest challenge about racing the 24?
Look, we're a bit different. And I can hear everyone laughing right now about that. We're a little bit unique in our mindset to the 24. Because we achieved what we did so early in our career with the 24, we sort of went with the theory from here on that we rode our very first 24 very slowly because we had a busted rear wheel, hub broke on it, and we got told we weren't going to finish, and we went, bugger that, we're going to prove everyone wrong. So we had to ride that really slow, and that was really, really boring. And I went, never again. We're not doing that again. That's crap. So once we won in 98, especially, that reinforced it from here on, go hard or go home. Right? There's always an esky ready to be attacked, so you can't lose. So our approach has always been go hard or go home. A lot of people are out there to finish, right? I'm not so fussed about the finish, right? Until this last year when being the 100th and all that, we thought we'll target the finish for the, I guess, memorabilia of it, and unfortunately didn't quite make it there. But that's, once again, we went back to riding the slowest race possible, and it is boring as batshit. Yeah. I strongly advise anyone out there, don't do it. Don't do it. Just go till it breaks and then go enjoy beer. Yeah. So our mindset's always been just go hard, go home. With that, we keep casual about it. We don't probably pack near as many tools as what most people do, or back up parts, because if I'm going to have to lose that much time in fixing something, it's probably taken away my challenge. I still will, don't get me wrong, and I'll try and change the challenge, but at the end of the day, I find it hard myself to go, I'm going to go and lose 50 minutes of time to probably not enjoy the rest of the ride because the bike's going to be so patched up that we're going to have to go at walking pace. So that's where our mindset's quite different to a lot of others. So 24-hour wise, because we've grown up with it, it's, I guess, probably the challenge of just staying alert for the 24 hours is probably, I guess, the biggest one. Mixed with now, I guess, the bikes, the pace that those bikes are going, the punishment we're putting them through, probably the next biggest challenge there is just keeping the bikes at a race pace. It's a hell of a pace nowadays, and it's a lot of punishment on the bikes. So that's a challenge in itself, is keeping that bike to a fitness level to keep up with the speed that's going out there.
Who do you reckon you've had your biggest, like, best battles with over the years?
Definitely Robbo in motocross. There's been some great battles there. Some of those have been hard fought. There's been a fair bit of knocking about there over the years. Some anger management issues. But love Robbo to pieces. In the fact that he pushed you to go harder, right? You didn't have a choice. If you're in front, you just had to push. Great respect for the man. I probably didn't see that all the time during my racing career. Sometimes I probably thought he was too aggressive and too brutal and maybe even too rude at times. Knowing what I know now, that's quite routine to say that. I know why. Huge respect for the guy. What he's achieved overseas and here has been great, and he's taught us a lot on how to battle and how tough it can be. So great competitor there. Road trials wise, definitely in the early days, Dave Manuel. Just a very good, consistent rider. Hutchies in later years, you can't deny them as being ones that you certainly had good battles with. And then plenty of other little ones along the way with your Mark Lowners and who else we got there? Beckman there a couple of years ago. So everyone, there's plenty of battles. The two Brads now, Hunter and Manuel.
They did really
They're on
well,
the pace. They're setting a new standard on what's a fairly basic bike. So they're once again proving that you don't need to have masses of horsepower to do well. It certainly helps, but it's not an essential. Great to see them achieving what they're doing, and that certainly sets a good standard for battles in the future for those that are up to the challenge.
Do you keep an eye on the times when you're doing them? Do you check the controls and stuff, or do you just ride and not worry about it?
Oh, look, depends on the time. Right, 23, absolutely. 2023 against Hutchies. I wasn't paying attention to the clock. I'd sort of just kept an eye on it at the end of each lap and gone, I'm not really on the pace here this year in 23. I think I was still suffering some pretty, the effects of jet lag, so I only got back in on the Tuesday night before the 24th from Wales. The first lap I was just, it's crap. I just couldn't get in the flow. I was really tired and fatigued before it even started. So the first two laps really weren't that special. Third lap, all of a sudden I started to come round. I went, and I thought, this must be a bit of jet lag. And we started the last lap 2.5 minutes down, and I just said to Stiff as we left, I said, look mate, 2.5 minutes, we've got a big gap, I think it was 5 minutes or something behind us. I said, let's just secure second. I think it's too risky to push for first. I think Hutchies have got that in the bag. But let's be sensible. And Stiff just, in his casual voice, whatever, let's just ride. And we got to the first fuel dump, and my daughter came up saying, you're the fastest in that third. And I went, no worries. But she didn't say the time. And I went, fair enough. We have been last lap as well. And then we got through the next third of the track, and James Rowe, another mate, come up and said, Crash, he come running over. Now that's unusual for James. James running, really? Take that, Rowie. So he's come running over and he said, Crash, have you seen the times? And I said, 2.5 minutes down, and we were the quickest to the last fuel dump. And he said, no, 2 minutes. And I went, okay, so we've made up 30 seconds, have we? And he goes, no, you've pulled back 2 minutes. And I went, bullshit. And he goes, and he showed me his phone, and I went, holy crap, we're only 27 seconds down. So then I went, this is achievable. If we've just pulled that off in 1/3 of the track, we can make this happen. And so I turned to Stiff and said, righto, Stiff, find us 2 shovels, mate. And he looked at me, and Hutchies looked up, and a few others looked up. What drugs is Crash on this time? And Stiff goes, what do we want shovels for? And I said, mate, we are about to dig deep. And that last third, so we went over to Hutchies. They knew the times by that stage. We went over to them, and normally we would just hang shit on them to no end, because they deserve it. And mind games. And we shook their hands and said, righto boys, from here on, cone of silence is on. It's a race to the death. May the best man win, and we'll speak to you at the end. It was just a bloody brilliant battle. From a road trials point of view, where you are not brushing bars and bumping each other, that was the most intense road trials racing I've done. That last 4 sections in 2023, having Stiff as an auctioneer was brilliant. He was just screaming the whole time, just go, go, go the whole time, and just pushing hard. So to come home with whatever it was in the end, 11-second win or whatever it was.
Oh, wow,
It was 11-second win at the end, and that was all in the last section, right? So that all happened in the last section. They were leading going into the last one. We overtook them in the last section.
Yeah.
So we didn't know the results until we crossed the finish line in Yidunda. That there, bloody great win with bloody great lads, with great guys surrounding us as well. There's still some other really good riders out there. Brad Manuel had a really good ride that year too. So, that's a very, very memorable win and a great battle, that one.
Yeah, and I think those battles would be hard too because you can't actually see what the other people are doing. So you don't know. Like, they could have a moment where they lose time, or they could be just flying over bits that you haven't thought to go over, and and if you'd seen it, you'd go, oh, well, they're doing that, I'm going to do it.
Correct.
But you don't know.
Yeah, and you're quite right. So with motocross, if you've got a bit of a lead or something like that, like I said there before, you can pace yourself based on what you visually see, but you can't see it when you're racing the clock. So in a situation like that, you've just got to push 110% from the moment that your minute comes up, your due time. You've just got to push 110% and hope that that's more than the other lads, because you know they're going to be doing the same. So you've just got to hope that your efforts are more than their effort, and from there it's up to the gods as to who comes out on top and may the best man win. Yeah. So yeah, some fun times.
What would be your funniest moment, do you reckon? Have you had any like real funny things happen?
Mate,
not like where Rocky was saying that he crapped his pants.
yeah. Good one, Rocky. We always knew you were full of shit. Want to make the tracks easier. What sort of a comment is that, Rocky? Get it together, boy. You're meant to be leading us. Right? Come on. Yeah, right. I've got that off my chest after listening to your podcast. Now, Rocky's a great lad. Love it. Funny moments. Lots of them. We've played hide and seek sidecars, where we've hidden in the bushes on the side of the road after you turn around the corner. And then Dave Manuel come around the corner and couldn't see us, wondered where we'd gone. Next thing we popped up behind him. We've played rock, paper, scissors going down roads. We have, Condo 750. We raced Condo 750 years ago. And on the last transport back into town, we were up behind this four-wheel drive, an old 80 series cruiser, and we seen them reaching the back seat for beers. We just following them along at about 100 k's an hour. And I'm sitting there going, like, me and Stiff, like, just raced 2 days at Nav Rally, like, some of the competitives, one of the competitives was 183 kilometres long. And so, yeah, you're a bit dry and parched. We thought, there's beer there. And it's, 65 k's back into town or something, down the bitumen. And so we're up behind this vehicle sort of indicating for beers. And next thing they're reaching out, and then they're out the window with this beer. They've cracked it for us, out the window, and we've just pulled up alongside. Stiff's grabbed it, and we've shared a beer on the way back into town. So, times like that. Look, there's a lot of them. I guess some of them have probably been just as much off the track, nights after the race. That first year up at Finke, some of the shenanigans we got up to up there was bloody funny as hell.
Well, they have a big party at the end, don't they?
Yeah, parties up there. There's parties all through the week. And if you can't find one, make one. Being up on the rafters in the steakhouse and hitching like at night at the casino with Andy Hayden and a few of his crew at the time, and some funny times there. So yeah, look, there's a lot of them. Certainly fun times travelling, like I said, in the limousine. There were some fun times there, and some of those road trips in themselves, which is great fun. So yeah, hard to pinpoint specific ones, but certainly been a lot of them, and that's why we do it.
Well, spectators as well are pretty funny sometimes, because I noticed even
a lot of nudity out there.
Yeah, because I rode around.
It's a very nude sport.
On the one of the road trials, and it was nighttime, and I came around the corner, and there was a bunch of drunk spectators, and one of them had his bum out, and he was like, brown eye, giving you moons when you come around the corner.
I have just remembered one. How can we let Stiff off the ranks here? So 97, our first year on our new sidecar we've built, all right, third event, because Elizabeth used to have one at that stage down in the Adelaide Hills. We were at Cainton Road Trial, and we'd had a pretty big night on the Terps the night before, right? We had to lubricate ourselves. I left the pub at I don't know what time, 2 o'clock or something like that. Steph went back to another mate's house and they ended up necking another bottle of rum yet that night. And so get there in the morning and Steph's not really in a good... I've driven, it's my turn to drive. Steph's, we're both pretty parched, like pretty dehydrated. We both drank our Camelbacks on the way to the race at the paint club room. So half an hour's drive and we've both gone through 2 litre Camelbacks each. We get to the race, refill our Camelbacks, go out for the first lap, and Steph was useless. Absolutely dead set useless. And anyway, we're coming back in the last transport. We're just coming down the hill towards the club rooms and the main control, and next thing I hear this crash, stop, and I'm copping all this hitting on the back of the shoulder and helmet, and I look in the sidecar and there's Steph hanging backwards off the grab rail, and there is just spew pouring out of his helmet all down the back of our new sidecar, and it's coming out above the mouthpiece, below the mouthpiece. It's a fair old empty out. And one of our other mates is behind. He's had to back off because there's just spray of spew down the road. And we get there. I said, "You filthy pig!" So we pull up at the fuel dump there, and Steph's taking his helmet off, and it's all down the front of him. It's everywhere. He's a mess. So off to the car. Lucky I'd filled one of my Willow water bottles that morning, and he's off to the car washing out all his helmet and shirt stuff. And in my car, I used to just keep a towel years ago. It was one of our old kids' towels, right? Just one of your spare things you'd keep with your swag in the boot of the car. So he's grabbed the towel, and it's an old Bert and Ernie towel. Right? And so there we are, this towel hanging alongside of our kit on the fence alongside this Bert and Ernie towel, waving in the breeze, drying out for the next lap. And no shit, it was like he was a whole new person. It's just like nothing had ever happened. He was back on that bike and bang, away we went, and he was as good could be.
Just had to have a clean out.
Just had to have a clean out. Took him a lap to do it, but oh, what a mess. Oh. Hell of a mess. But so there's been a few scenarios like that. He turned a pencil pine into a Christmas tree once before at the end of a race. They weren't going to let him finish because he was that crook.
Oh, no.
But like I said, he's an Energizer bunny on speed, and he'll just hang in there no matter what, till the death, I think he told him that day. No, I'll be here till the death.
Oh, vomiting in a helmet. That's like my worst nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, so... But so that's probably one that I had to recall and put up for the public.
He's gonna be right. He's gonna want one up on you now.
Yeah. Oh, he's got plenty. Don't you worry about that.
The Condo. What was that like? What's that one?
That was good. So that's Condo 750. That came about on the back of Hutchie's adventures over to the Australasian Safari in 2013. They raced Sidecar over there on a outfit that Gav Porteous built for them, and I was part of the pit crew on that. So as practice...
Were they the only sidecar?
Yeah.
So there's been a few events where just one sidecar's just sort of entered to do it?
Yeah. So, and that's happened before at Safari a few times.
Yep.
Langs did it years ago.
And they're happy to just let a sidecar do that?
Yeah.
Like, is it much trouble to sort of enter like that?
No, as long as you got the money, you can do anything.
Okay, yeah.
They're pretty expensive, the old Nav Rally stuff. There's a lot of bikes set up, a lot of entry fee costs and stuff like that. But it's a great adventure. Great adventure for anyone that wants to do it. I highly recommend it. It's not what I'd call a challenging ride in the sense of what we're used to pushing ourselves. There's very much a marathon component to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it'd be a bit more of an enduro, wouldn't it?
But the challenge is in mapping, in reading your map as you go and keeping up the best pace you can. The tracks aren't hard, they're fast, but there's certainly the challenge in reading the maps. But 2013 we went over to Condo 750 as a practice with Hutchies, and so I was pit crewing there. Quite successful, a few things we learned. And then we did a bit of private practicing from there. I had built some navigational tracks from the practice, done maps and everything. So we did Safari successfully. Australasian Safari is towards the end of the era over in WA. So week-long safari over there. Great times over there, really good times travelling around.
So how far is that? Like how much
Well,
distance?
Western Australia. Last time I looked, Natasha,
it was
about 3,000 kilometres across the Nullarbor.
How much distance did you just have to race?
So that was, we went we started down on the northern fringes of Perth and we went right up to Gascoyne Junction, Carnarvon and Gascoyne Junction. So there were some days where I think they were travelling, I think they travelled up to about 700 kilometres in a day.
Wow, yeah.
Right, mostly around the 400-500 from memory. A lot of road transporting, right? But yeah, great times travelling around with the great Gav Porteous, Gav and Ann, great couple to go travelling with. Hutchie's mum and a few others sort of came, mum and dad, sorry.
Yeah.
Let's not forget Grant there. Yeah, we all pit crewed and another lad, Quentin, from up at Renmark. And yeah, great times pit crewing for that. And from that, we sort of got the urge, I thought, I'd like to give this a go. So Condo 750, we organised a crew of us to go there. I can't remember, I think it was 7 or 8 sidecars went over there.
Oh wow, yeah.
Lacey and Ethan, Razzie and Nathan Zaghi, Mark and Tyson, ourselves, Hutchies, Rowie went over there. Yeah, can't remember who else, but anyway, a few of them. And yeah, it was really good times. Once again, did a heap of practice on our farm. Back when we could, we had quite a parcel that I made maps up, and yeah, that was good fun, great times over there, doing that. And then since then, the lads have been to, I didn't do it, but Sunraysia Safari. Whether that's something that I can achieve in the future, maybe, might be on the to-do list. But yeah, there's a few funds involved with that. So yeah, but no, that's fun. We had a fairly big off in that. Well, yeah, a sort of semi off. I managed to hold it, but Stiff went for a fair old fly. In that one, hitting a stump, a hidden stump on a corner, at fairly high speed. But yeah, once again, other than a blood nose, grazed up nose, he got out of it scot-free, and on we went. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
Sidecar, we didn't suffer too well out of it, but
yeah.
Anyway.
So what do you think are the key skills to be successul in sidecar racing?
Stupid. Plain and simple. Just be stupid. Don't count your bank account, right? Right. Never count the bank account. Ignore it. Look, I think with anything, I don't think this is just sidecars, but passion. It's shitting me in this world at the moment that it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's ball sports, whether it's motorsports, anything like that. Passion is the key. And I think, as Brian mentioned again in his podcast, that if you want something bad enough, you'll make it work. And we proved that a lot through our years. We begged, borrowed, stealed, whatever we could to be able to get through. I owe a lot of thanks to the people like Baz Rolack, who helped me out, like Flob Sharkey, that's loaned me bikes and borrowed me bikes and stuff over the years. I owe a lot of thanks to those guys. But just grow the balls, I'll say, in a non-sexist way. Grow the balls, just ask. People are generally willing to help. Once again, this is, I think, all repeated from Brian's podcast as well. Ask. There's a lot of people that you'll find are willing to help more than what you know. If you don't know people need help, you generally don't go looking for it, right? Because we're all busy. Yeah. Okay. So, and be fair about it. Don't just go exploiting that help just because you're too lazy. You've still got to put in the effort. But passion, I think, is something that's, with passion you can make anything happen.
Like, you can be good at something, but if you don't have that passion there, you're never going to be anything.
You've seen it in professional sports so many times where people lost the passion. They're multi-million-dollar, they've got all the money in the world to enthuse them to play.
Yeah, and all the talent.
But the minute they lose the passion, they're just shit at it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, even me, like training fighters and stuff, the ones that might not have the best technique, but they have the passion for it, and they just want to do it. They'll just put in the hard work and they'll just do it.
And I lost a lot of my passion back in the mid-teens when I had my back injury, and there was other things going down in this back scenes with, I felt there's a lot of ungrateful people in the industry, sort of with, especially because I'm on the 24-hour committee, with all the track preps and stuff like that, the effort that I know the committee was putting in back in those days on, at times, a pretty shoestring budget. And just the flack you would cop with decisions that were made that weren't so popular with the riders and stuff like that. And you just went, you're ungrateful sods. You're just, as bloody Jim Richards put it, you're just a pack of arseholes. I don't want to be involved and try and help you morons. at the end of the day, you're just ungrateful.
Yeah.
Go do it yourself, right?
Well, it's usually the ones that complain are the ones that never help.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So at the end of the day, I just went, you know what, if that's the way you want it, stick it up your ass. I'll go riding whenever I want. I've got plenty of land. I don't care from a selfish point of view. So that was a lot of my driving in, mixed with then the back injury was sort of the nail in the coffin. I just went, you know what, I'm going to get rid of this and spend a bit of family time and do some other games. And I enjoyed just going out riding on weekends or watching the kids ride. And then later on, once again, I think the industry took a bit of a turn there and certainly, yeah, that the passion came back after a bit of a rest and here we are.
I think you just got to, you know, block those people out too.
Oh, you have to. It's a hard thing to do when you care about what you do. It's bloody hard to block
when you
out.
put your heart and soul into stuff and you got someone doing that and you just think, oh. But you got to sort of focus on the people who are grateful and, you know, think about the people, you know, and the kids and, you know, without the adults doing stuff, the kids don't get to do it either.
Yeah, that's right. And they don't learn. They don't have a role model to learn that this is what's expected of us to help in return. Right? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you want something to happen, you've got to put some effort in, whether that's helping to organise, whether that's prepping your bike, I don't care what it is, there has to be a return input. And those that don't put back into the sport, have fun. Right? Yeah. I hope someone rocks up to your funeral. Right? But it's, I think, passion for me is definitely the number one for any of that stuff, and putting back into the sport as best you can.
If you could go back and do something different, what would it be?
I would probably not take the tight line down at South Coast. Where was that? Holden-Olunga. I probably wouldn't take the tight line, being a cheeky bugger on Robbo years ago, and coming up shy on the doubles and snapping my wrist in the first race. I'd probably change that one. Look, I would have. It's easy to say it at this point. I would love to have gone and had a real crack at Europe. Look, I'm not upset that I couldn't get there, because I know that the path that I had in life was one that I'm happy with. And you can't achieve everything. But I would have loved to have been able to have probably a bit of a crack, especially seeing Brian's efforts, to have had a bit of a crack over in Europe. Yeah. But the family come along at the time, and like I said, business and house, there's a whole heap of things happening all at once. And it just didn't work. Once again, maybe the passion wasn't strong enough. But that's one that I probably would have loved to have given a crack. Looking now on what we're doing with the Welsh 2-Day, we've said, even with Alan and James over there, hell, I would have loved it if we'd started this back when we were in our late 20s or 30 and been able to do a few more years of it, because we've got such a good relationship there now with looking after each other's bikes and accommodation and vehicles and stuff like that. So that's made things a lot easier now, but we're all towards the end of our careers, and from an FIM point of view, it's a big step up once you're 50 to be able to achieve FIM licence. Just got to really keep on top of that health, and it just puts another level of effort, technicality into it that you otherwise don't have when you're young.
Would you ever do the Western Beach race?
Oh, look, Alan pesters me every couple months about this. Look, I hate the beach. Right, sand in your crack, back sack and crack, wherever it gets into, ears. Although they're pretty hairy, you probably keep them out now. But look, I've looked at it. It doesn't really entice me. Nah. That's
my dream race.
Yeah,
I would love to go do that. It looks so brutal.
Yeah, and some people do, but I don't know. It hasn't floated my boat. It hasn't floated my boat. I just cringe sending such a nice, beautiful chrome frame down the salt water. It does look enjoyable in a certain way, but it's not towards the top of my bucket list. No.
It just looks so hard. I watch so many videos of it, and you just see everyone bogged and
Oh mate, have you seen how angry some of those passengers get over it? I seen this one little fake English Welshman bashing up a quad bike rider.
Oh really?
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. Ask James Ferguson about it. Yeah. Madman, anger management issues.
So who would you say has been your biggest influence?
I knew this question was going to pop out. Once again, after so many years, it's really hard to put one. Papa Baz, Dad, my other dad, he's been a strong driver from the early days. He was sort of the one that, I guess, technically taught me into the sport. At the same time, I had Mark Gregory, coach, I call him, who taught me a lot about motocross. Motocross was a big eye-opener, going out there with some of the big boys in the early days. Yeah, like I said, Robbo, Mike and Mark Thompson, those two guys battled. They fought hard, and it was sink or swim. So he taught me how to react to those guys and battle back really well. So yeah, big thanks to Mark there over the years. Then, look, it stretches long and far from there. There's so many people. Even I get influenced even a lot by the younger ones now, and seeing watching some of these juniors, seeing Beckmans grow up. For instance, Beckmans, Brookos, Rolex, like Adrian and Tyson and stuff. Growing up from juniors and now being able to sort of battle with them up the front in seniors, that's quite an inspiration for me.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So they haven't necessarily taught me so much skill set. They've taught me how to stay young and how to try and stay out in front. Right? So it's sort of a secondary outcome. So Robbo's been a great influence in the motocross. Right? Like I said, haven't always agreed, and he's made it very challenging and at times, but that's what's taught us how to get better. So Dave in the road trials, Dave Manuel, and Razzie, right? They had some. Those guys have been very influential in ways. Just I haven't raced a lot against Razzie, but just watching him and seeing him as a racer just before we started, and learning some techniques and stuff off of him was great influence. So there's so many of them that it's bloody hard to just say you're the key one. So
well, you get different things from each person.
Yeah. Trevor Anthony.
Yeah.
Right, go back to that story there and just how to, I guess, pace yourself and be that silent assassin. Like just so many things you picked up from, and in recent times, I will certainly make a standout. I mean, Stiff in a long-term point of view, great influence to just keep pushing. But Brian, to sort of get you back on track a bit and stuff like that. Great influence. Jed as a passenger, he kept me out there. He pestered me to stay out there through the what was that then, the late 2000s. He sort of come on board when I financially didn't have a cent to me name to put into racing. Well, he supplied me the outfit and bike, and he was my passenger there for a long time. So he was a good influence in keeping us out there. So yes, so many people that I owe my thanks to. Bobs for building so many bits and pieces for me and loaning me bikes. So yeah, so many of them that I could just keep them popping up all day.
Yeah.
So sorry to those I forgot. Right, years later.
So what advice would you give to newbies wanting to have a go?
I think I put it on one of the Wastebook posts at one stage. Nike, just do it. Right. There's no harm in trying, right? But like I say to a lot of the newbies that are out there, just persist for a while. Don't base it off your first ride, because it is daunting, it is scary, it can be hard, it is hard. But it gets easier. It does get easier, and the easier it gets, the more you enjoy it, and you just can't beat that sidecar atmosphere. So stick with it.
What would be your favourite thing? What's your favourite thing about racing sidecars?
Oh, it's all about the beer. Absolutely. That's
the after parties.
It's all about the beer. Like when we put the helmet on, there, we're all out there to win, right? We're all out there to be the best. We're all out there to beat each other. But what I like about it is at the end of a race, end of an event, we pull that helmet off, and whose esky is the closest, right? When that esky's empty, you go to the next one. It's all about that camaraderie. We're not out there to kill each other, but we are out there to win. right? And I think that makes it a bit different to the likes of football and ball sports. Why you have to hate the other team? Why hate them?
Yeah.
Right? If they weren't out there, you wouldn't have a competition, right? So I don't see the need to hate your competitors. I think you need to look up to them, use them as a challenge and a stepping stone to become better at what you do. So to me, every competitor is still a friend, and you need competitors out there to make a competition. So, and I just don't get that with ball sports. Like, why do you have to hate a neighbouring town? Why do you have to hate your competitors? Mate, I don't know.
Even
Stop me now, stop me.
Well, even in sidecars, and
then they go and shout together. But anyway.
When you're riding, we were at one of the reliability trials and something was happening with our bikes, and one of the other competitors came over and fixed it for us.
Yeah.
And you're racing against each other, but everyone's happy to come and help you if something's broken on your bike, or give you tips and things like that.
I've seen on race days people go to each other and loan parts, and then you hand them back at the end of the day, right? Okay, and that can be some of your most challenging competitors, right? You could easily say, no, I don't have that part, and then you've won the day by default. Oh, geez, you're a super athlete, right? You won because your competitor couldn't be out there, right? And you had a choice to make that event better, right? So I don't agree with that. At the end of the day, I want to know that I've beaten someone under the most fairest conditions possible, and that everyone had their best chance of winning. That is a fulfilling win,
for
right?
Sure.
And even if you don't, once again, as Brian said in his, some of your best wins aren't wins.
Yeah.
Right? They were the effort that you got to. You might have had a crash in the first corner and you were half a lap behind and you somehow got up to third or fourth. The effort and the challenge you made to get that far and stay in the points count or something like that. Right? So at the end of the day, that's, I guess, sums that up.
All right. Well, I think we've been chatting for
a while.
Yeah.
Have we got the 2 hours yet?
Nearly.
That's my minimum limit. Oh shit.
An hour and 40. My kids have probably got in there going, "Where's my breakfast?"
No, they'll find it. When they're hungry, they find food. Don't worry about that.
Oh yeah, I'll go in there and they've probably put Milo all over the floor.
Yeah.
Tried to cook something.
Have you got pets?
No.
Oh right. Well, I was going to say your pets will have a good breakfast then. But no. Look, I'd like to just say thanks to everyone that has been out there. I'm certainly keen to hang around as long as I can. I really appreciate what you're doing for the sport. I'd like to get out there and do some more motocross at some stage. Bit of a challenge I can't compete on the same bike in two different disciplines without a lot of effort and work. There's a lot of setup changes I make. Looking forward to hopefully getting my bike back from overseas in the near future, or having another one in the shed that I can jump from one to the other, because I do miss my motocross for sure. But
you guys look like you were having fun out there when we did Morgan and then the Murray Williams Cup.
Oh yeah, it's great fun. I love it. Unfortunately, the clock's my biggest restrictor, and there's only so much you can achieve in a 28-hour day, and you're working 30 of them makes it a bit tricky. So, but anyway, we'll soldier on and we'll do the best we can with what we've got, and hope to get some more in there.
Ah, cool. Well, thank you very much for coming and sitting and chatting.
Yeah. And anyone else that's going to take on Tash in a boxing ring here needs to put their hand up.
Crash is the first one that I've actually done in person. I'm usually on the phone, so we're sitting in my gym at the moment.
That's right, listening to the rain trying to start, which hopefully it can come sooner rather than later. So
make us a few
because that doesn't entice
make us a few
either.
bog holes for the reliability.
It's going to be a bit scary otherwise in the dust. So, but no, great stuff.
Awesome. Okay, well, we'll wrap it up. Thank you.
Catch ya.
Hope you guys enjoyed that episode of the Sidcar Spin, and massive thank you to Crash for popping in and having a chat with me. He has so much knowledge and experience. It was hard to fit it all in. And thanks to everyone for the support. I'm still getting so much positive feedback. If you got any ideas or anything like that, let me know. Cheers, guys. See you next time.